Hi, this is Daniel Chang, and this is for Mech and Vehicle Design. And this week we're moving away from our vehicle designs and we're starting something brand new, which is coming up with ideas for our mech. Now, in particular, I would like our vehicles to somehow integrate within our mech. So, for example, your vehicle can actually insert into a mech, like maybe maybe like the chest of your mech could be your vehicle, or the mech is so big that it has a hangar bay and your vehicle can go inside that. I have some examples here from pop culture. I collected a bunch of reference. The reason why I have this here is because these Russian dolls, they, put a small doll into a larger one, into a larger one, into a larger one, and that's basically what we're doing in a lot of ways for this project. So, for example, we have in Transformers this character Soundwave. Soundwave was originally a cassette player, and so they thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the little mini cassettes actually turned into animals and other robots, right? And so the idea here would be a bit similar to ours, where our vehicle would then fit into uh, the uh, the cartridge slot here for a bigger robot. So that's one way that somebody's figured out this problem. Um, Another way is like there's this robot here called the Great Mazinger, and that's from in America it was called Transor Z. If you see over here on his inside his crown, there's actually a plane, and so in the cartoon, the main character got in the plane lands on the robot, then the robot comes alive because now the character is now controlling the robot, right? A big thing that we're probably all familiar with is Power Rangers, right? Where each member of the group has their own vehicle and then they all connect and transform into this giant uh, robot. Same thing with Voltron, you know. Voltron's also the same. All these lions, they all combine to transform into this giant robot right here. Here's another example from the 80s. There's this character called God Mars, and God Mars is also made out of like a bunch of different robots. There's like the big one on the torso, there's the legs, there's the arms, but then there's also like a smaller robot that actually fit into the chest of the bigger robot. So it's just, like I said, a Russian doll situation here. Um, Here's another example more recently. Um, in the 80s in G.I. Joe, Cobra had this really cool vehicle called the Trouble Bubble, and it was mostly just a flight pod vehicle. Had these, I have no idea how this would actually fly, but basically they thought, wouldn't it be cool to strap, two jet engines on the back of like a seat? Yeah. And so yeah, so this was a pretty popular enemy vehicle in GI Joe, and then they came out with a toy for it, and these folks decided, hey, all we have to do is attach legs to the bottom half of this thing and it could become a mech. So that's like a smaller example where maybe your vehicle, all you have to do is, have like a little section that kind of attaches legs to it or you know, wheels to it, and it doesn't even have to be as big as your original vehicle, right? And then you can turn it into something else. We're really trying to figure out how to get toyetic with it. The other way that we can also integrate our vehicle into a mech would be if the vehicle itself transforms into a mech. Now that's a lot more complicated because, you know, you're trying to figure out all the intricacies, what bends what way to turn it into another thing. But with Robotech, they pretty much just figured out, like, you know, if you have enough stuff on there to kind of let you believe that the this was a plane, and now it can become like a robot, and then it has yet a third form where it's even more like a robot and less like a plane, but we still have the parts of the plane on there. um this is, you know, playing around a bit with suspension of disbelief. And then later on, once it got super popular, you know, later on, somebody actually went ahead and figured out how to put all this together and actually do transformation animations for it. Um, Now, your robot does not have to be super realistic and, you know, really tough. Your robots can be chibi as well. I collected some really cute robot reference here and thought that some of our students here might enjoy that. You know, something simple and cute could be cool. So, like, if this was, like, say, originally a UFO, and then that UFO inserted into the torso of this body, then, you know, that would be cool, right? You know, so and also it doesn't necessarily always have to turn into a human form. It could be a spider form, you know, something four-legged. It could be a crab, for example. I noticed in Sonic 3, Sonic has a crab mech here, you know, and actually, when it comes to vehicles, I think a crab mech would be a really easy integration, right? Whatever is the torso section would then land on this sort of base section that has all these crab legs on there. So we might explore some kind of a crab mech for a demo today. The other, you know, and that brought me to this idea of, like, hey, let's not limit ourselves to just copying other robots, right? Let's think about just cool stuff that we like animals and crustaceans, and even something cute like a teddy bear. That could be the inspiration that we start off with as far as our shapes go. You know, if I started off like with a T-Rex shape or a gorilla shape, well, the gorilla shape, you know, they did that in Transformers. It became Optimus Primal right here, right? So that, you know, this is like one of the methods that people do to do this. Here I've got like this really cool uh, leatherhead start style, like crocodile person, right? Now, could you imagine this thing as a big mech? That would be great. You know, I would love that. And then if we went simpler, there's this artist named Ashley Wood. He would just kind of take a pill shape, put arms and legs on there, you know, and kind of create the robots. And they made a whole line of toys based on his robot designs, you know. And they became real collector's items, you know. Something simple too here. I know we're seeing all this detail, but in its bare essence, the shape is very simple and very cute. And then the other idea here is that maybe we take things that are more construction vehicle like, right? And you know, we can just attach, you know, legs and a cannon onto it, and, you know, uh, we could create our own kind of more functional looking robots, right? For example, this power loader is just based off of construction equipment. That's why it's yellow. That's why it's covered in caution stripes, and it's got the cage and the little warning lights and stuff. You know, it's very just very much just a forklift with legs, right? Uh, King Shark is another shape that I kind of liked for a big robot, maybe kind of like this crocodile guy. So, before you all get started, I highly suggest you go in and just brainstorm and collect as much reference as you are, that will help you in coming up with ideas, because right now we're in an idea stage, and the reference gathering is what I always do to kind of springboard ideas, uh, as a place to start. Now, as a reminder, out of your vehicles, I would want you to, last week we chose one of the vehicle designs and we kind of went with that. So in some ways, I'm thinking whatever vehicle is chosen, in this case, I've chosen here, um, this vehicle needs to somehow now integrate also into my robot. So I'm just going to have this file open just so that I'm constantly reminded, like, oh yeah, and then I got to figure out how to integrate this thing into my robot. Yeah. So here you go. Let me show you a neat little trick that we can do in Photoshop. So let me create a new file and let's go let's see, 300 DPI with, let's do 8, and height, let's do 11. I'm mostly gonna go vertical on this, but we can also do horizontal as well. But in any case, I'm thinking I'd like us to just start sketching, start drawing, And I'm just trying to figure out how to arrange my canvas here so y'all can see everything. Oh shoot, I need to bring up my little hotkeys thing as well. No keyboard. Here it is. No board. Okay, cool. I've got my little hotkey showing up. So, I created a new file. It was 300 DPI, and the dimensions are 8 by 11. And oh, not new. Save. Let's just save this out as on my computer, and I'll call this Mech Ideas, Mech or Thumbnails, Mech Thumbnails. Um, so what I want us to focus on at the start are just shapes. I just want us to think about cool shapes, and we're mostly gonna tackle the shape from a front view first, because then we can, start off with some symmetry on there. This background layer, you don't want to draw directly on that, so you want to, first off, you want to make a brand new layer. Um, if, if, if you got it. Let's see. Wait, am I missing something here? Ah, here we go. Okay, brand new layer. All right, so within this new layer, then what you can do is there's like this when you go to the brush tool, you can see way up here on the top here, there's a little butterfly. You see the butterfly logo? Well, you can click on that, and then you could click here on vertical. So vertical will make it symmetrical, going up, and down. And it'll put it right dead center, and that's fine. Yeah, that sounds good. So then there'll be this blue line here from there. And so next thing I'd like you to do, um, if you've already created that square brush, that'd actually be a really good one to start with. So let's just try this square brush for now. And the color black is nice for a silhouette thing. So I'm just going to start off by kind of sketching what I think my spaceship might look like real quick. something like this, and then I've got um, this for the wings, and then I got something in the middle there for that. So something like this integrates into my robot somehow. I'm not sure. So maybe let's talk about the crab idea. So perhaps there's a shape like this. I like doing this with the square brush because immediately that gives me mecha vibes, you know, to start with. And I'm just painting, drawing and painting right now. So I've got like something where that could possibly slot into, and then I've got ideas for this crab. So let me bring this up. Oh, let me see. Yeah, let's bring up the Sonic crab thing and just take a look at what ideas might be here. Okay, and then I come back and I continue drawing, right? So so this is cool. They have like guns and stuff on here, which is neat. Let's do um let's do actual, cannons and stuff. That might be fun. And then let's do the crab legs. I'm going to come down, go up, right? And then there's going to be like a knee thing. I'm going to draw this thing kind of like I would an action figure, meaning I kind of want all my individual pieces here, and then I'll put gaps where I think an articulation joint might be, right? Um, and then the wonderful thing about this too is it's not just the the uh, the pen the brush tool that I'm gonna want to use. I'm also gonna want to use the eraser tool, and I'm also going to put my eraser tool, hopefully I can, under the square brush as well. So um, so now I can come in and erase back away. So you got to constantly be thinking positive and negative shapes, right? So you'll make something and then you'll kind of, undo it a bit, and then you'll paint back in with black. If I hit brush, B is the brush tool, right? So then I'll come back and paint it with the brush, and then if I want to erase, that's the E for the eraser tool. Um, there you go. So this would be like a whole separate piece, I think, as well. Something like that. And then let's see. you know we can, I don't want to confuse the silhouette too much, but basically there, my understanding is there would be more legs behind this. We probably won't go as far as like 6 legs, maybe 4 legs is fine. And then it might be cool if we can integrate um the claws or something, if we'd, you know wanted to. And my understanding on crab claws is there's a big one, and then there's like the small, you know part underneath it. And we can even, can I move this? Will it move? See, it won't. It only it's only symmetrical with the brush. Huh, how about that? So if you wanted to stay symmetrical, I'll have to redraw it. I can't just reposition it like that. Well, and maybe, yeah, maybe you could. I'm trying to keep as clean a silhouette as I can, so I'm just gonna try to get this out of the way if I could. And it'll cover some of that. Unfortunately, I lost some detail there, but so there's like one section, another section, and over here there's like another section. And yeah, this is my idea. Little dots kind of signify like where my pivots could be on here. Um, so that could be one design. And then what I want to do is come back and do some quick cut lines. So I'm just going to shrink my brush down so that it's like really tiny. And you probably notice that I do this a lot. I kind of create some type of a V shape going on here, and so I'm just making panel lines, and maybe I'll also integrate some kind of high tech business here. Yeah, it kind of looks like Breath of the Wild there. But yeah, having these ideas early would be good because that kind of helps us as when we go to flesh out these ideas. This is still in our brainstorm phase, so let's come up with as many fun little bits as we can. Kind of want this to feel rounder, and then we'll have elements like this. Yeah, kind of very crab, Mr. Crab. No, very crab-like. Very cool. Cool, cool. Yeah, so there's my first sketch, and notice how fast that was. You don't need to get into too much detail. Let's just, try to try to and you know what I'll do is I'll keep my little spaceship dude here on a separate layer. So I'm just gonna hit Control J, and then that's my first little crab creature. And then now I'm gonna come up with some other thing. Let's do something cuter, like maybe like I don't know, like I kind of had a cool little teddy bear there before, so maybe it can integrate itself into some kind of a some kind of a but yeah, I love this. Saves me. Oh yeah, and also you don't have to paint on just one side. Sometimes you can cross over and paint on the other side as well. And the thing to keep in mind too is just to make sure that you keep your shapes and proportions how you like, and also figure out like where are my cut lines. I think if I have this as a teddy bear, I do want the arms to be a bit bigger. right? And sometimes it's kind of fun as well to play around with your proportions. What does I mean by that? Well, like what if he had like really tiny legs? What does that do? You know, to the characteristics. Like, what if the legs are like really short and stumpy like that, right? What if I rounded that part out? And so just go back and forth with I think the head needs to be bigger, and maybe the ears are. Yeah, I kind of like that better. Make the ears further out like that. That's kind of cute. And now a little bit of detailing. Not a whole lot of detail, but I do want to come in and cut where I think the joints might be. So over here, there'd probably be a pivot. There'd probably be a knee somewhere in here, and then there'd be a foot as well. Eh, maybe the foot could be. I might have to enlarge the foot, paint more foot in to kind of balance it. And then over here, I'm gonna cut this more of a plush bear idea, but I do want to make sure that it's got some gaps so that, you know, it makes sense that, the arm's not going to clip right into his body, right? So it'd be kind of like that. And then this is my separation here between this and the bottom. What I love is that it's doing the same thing to the other side. So I don't have to worry about matching it up. I'm just freely expressing ideas, right? And so there, I don't know. Well, we could, yeah, make that like I don't know if that's the right kind of joint for it. Maybe it'll be bigger. And then, yeah, what's the claw gonna be? Maybe it's a mitten. Yeah, let's go. Let's go mitten hands. They're kind of useless, but maybe like claws come out. Yeah. Now, I could just like put a straight line there, but that's kind of boring. So that's why you're seeing me like do this like, and it also, what this kind of zigzag down does is it kind of indicates like, oh, there could be a potential joint right there, right? Like that. So that's why I'm doing that. Where you definitely would need a cut that's like kind of more traditional would be like a swivel, right? So then you would need that. Like if I wanted the bicep to kind of swivel. I would look at action figures to you know, figure out, if you have anything that's articulated, I would take a look at that to figure out, yeah. And if you don't have one, maybe you have a sibling that might have an action figure. Um, Something to help you figure out. Uh, I don't know, I just thought some detail there might be kind of neat. And then let me go thinner, and this will be my cut line. So it's high tech, high tech stuff like that. And then this would be my thing for the claws, right, right here. There we go. That's cute. And then we have, let's do a big circle here. And maybe this is where it opens up. That'd be cool. Like for example, if there was a hatch here or something, and this opened up, and our ship with the dude in there could actually go in. Yeah. Let me indicate a better doorway. Maybe I'll put a door frame around it. And then we'll do like it's halfway open to communicate like, hey, this you can enter here, you know, something like that. You know. And then off to the side here, there's, additional techie lines. And then of course our big teddy bear muzzle. And then is he sad or is he neutral? I don't know. Is he a happy bear? Yeah. Okay, now here's like a fun little thing, and then we're gonna do a lot of undos on this one. So if the eyes are in the middle, it makes the bear look more grown up and bigger. And if the eyes are way off to the side, it makes the bear feel more innocent and more kid-like, right? And the reason I think why is not only is this true in our infants where, this the head doesn't the head will grow a little bigger over time, but it doesn't grow as much compared to the body, right? And so that's why when you're an infant, the head seems to be larger in proportion to the body, and then your body kind of has to grow into it. The other thing too is wide set eyes are generally found in prey animal, and narrow eyes, the ones that are up front on the face, looking forward, that's usually on predator animals. So aggressive animals, they'll hunt, so they need to know what's in front of them. The animals that need to run away, that are maybe herbivores like deer and horses, their eyes are on the side of their head so that they look all around them like, whoa, what was that? That kind of idea. And so that's something to keep in mind on your design if you should you decide on creating like a cute character of some sort. Um, um, figure out you know, where you want the eyes, how big do you want the eyes, and also how how wide set do you want the eyes? Yeah, like that. You know, just put in another high-techy line thing there because we're still going to be this, you know, at the end of the day, this is still a robot. I just want us to think about it like, even though it's a teddy bear, it's still a robot. I like it. And it's kind of fun. Um, there used to be a toy in the 80s called Teddy Ruxpin. It had a cassette player inside it, and then he would be kind of a animatronic. He would like, you know, read you bedtime stories and stuff. Um, so I'm gonna put in the little bear toes in here, something like that, so that and then you know I don't have to be locked to this. I could always play around with the proportions afterwards. So like for example, right here, um, if I'd want, I can select that and then make that bigger. But notice that like just subtly making it bigger actually changes quite a bit. So you gotta don't go too exaggerated or else it'll just look like your image is stretched. But if you just, you know, within reason, I think you can create kind of a neat little teddy bear robot here. So there's another design. In total, I want y'all to make 5 of these, okay? Um, I'm going to pause the video or stop the video here. We'll come back. We'll do 3 more of these. All right. Thanks.